All right, good morning. So we'll get started. I'll quickly introduce myself and introduce some of the work that I'm presenting here today. So I'm a software engineer by training, team lead at FHIR currently, and I also work with the SIIM hackathon a lot. So SIIM is an organization out of North America, Society for Imaging in Medicine. Basically, they are an organization that brings doctors, IT managers, CIOs, et cetera, together in an annual conference, but also have an educational program throughout the year. And of course, SIIM is also very excited for new standards like FHIR, DICOM Web, so they are putting all their weight behind supporting the advancement of these standards. Today, I have the pleasure of presenting work that isn't mine, but I love presenting people's work and taking credit for it, so that's why I'm here today. No, just kidding. But these are two very interesting and different approaches to getting data sets for your machine learning / AI algorithm. And of course, this is definitely very image centric. So this is only if you're interested in playing around with DICOM data. If you're not interested in DICOM, you don't have to worry about this. You can just ignore it, pretend it never happened. All right, the first one is AI-ready research portal. So this, unfortunately, I don't have a link for you because they still haven't figured out the licensing, haven't actually released it, but it will be released, it will be open source. It was developed by a team from Marquette University. It's a team of students, and basically they did this just this past year at the SIIM conference, and they won the hackathon, first place award. What their idea is generally with AI research and machine learning, the biggest challenge is to find a good data set to start with. And that's really what these two projects are about. This one takes one approach. The idea is you will have this virtual machine you could just deploy. It has a web GUI, and you could use it to find studies for your research project. So the idea is, oh, sorry, actually, I'm not sure if I covered the one thing here. No, it's probably in the next slide. The idea is you work in an institution or you're partnered with an institution, so you have access to some kind of real data set, okay? You put this VM, you're able to go and query using all kind of different parameters. You know, the one example I'm showing you here in the screenshot is a modality along with, you know, steady date range and things like that. You're also able to search using procedure, SNOMED codes, et cetera. What it will do is it will use FHIR and DICOM Web to go get you information that then, you know, are sorted for you, and then you could use that for your research. So whatever matches your criteria. It will also anonymize the studies for you, and it will convert the images into a nifty format, which is pretty good for machine intelligence and processing. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but long story short is basically you tell it what you want to do. It will go grab the FHIR resources for you, matching what you want, you know, let's say condition, for example. And then behind the scenes, it will also go grab all the DICOM images for you, and then it will anonymize them for you. And then if you want, you can also convert them to nifty. So it does a lot of heavy lifting for you. Next is the FHIR Maker. There's a GitHub for that one. It's open source as well. This one takes a completely different approach. So what if you don't work for a hospital and you don't have a partner either? What if you just want to work with something that's publicly available? Some of you may know there are a lot of public image data sets, like the Cancer Imaging Archive is one example. And this is developed for that. Now, this is actually developed by a professor out of Mayo Clinic. And in this case, what he thought would be really cool is if you can have software that you could point at a data set like TCIA, it will go crawl that data set and will actually create FHIR resources for you based on the DICOM data. So it takes kind of the reverse approach. Again, if you don't work for a hospital or you don't have access to a real data set, this is probably the closest thing you can get to a real data set. The idea is you basically put in your API key to be able to access any of these public data sets like the TCIA or National Institute of Health. You also give it a search criteria, condition, body part, that kind of thing. And you unleash it. It will go start downloading all these resources for you. It will create FHIR resources. And if you point it at your FHIR server, it'll actually push all that stuff for you into the FHIR server. So again, it does a lot of heavy lifting for you. This one is probably very unreadable, but it just shows you what I just told you. So like I said, you point at a public data set, it will crawl it, index it essentially, and then it will generate resources for you. We'll quickly compare the two just so you understand the difference. Again, The first one I showed you is good if you're working within an institute, like a university hospital or something. The other one is optimized for a public data set. The first one assumes that you already have FHIR and DICOM web servers, whereas the other one doesn't make any assumptions about FHIR resources being available. It just works with DICOM, and it will generate the FHIR resources for you. Okay? This one here is being developed to be a web GUI based on a VM, so quick deployment. The other one will be a command line tool. So you run it in command line, and it will just spit out FHIR JSON files for you. All right, do we have time for questions? Okay, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, I will be at the imaging table. If you've got any questions or need more information, please come and find me there. Questions? Yeah, go ahead. I don't know how exactly they do it, but I do know that they use very reliable tools. They actually use DICOM Cleaner, one of the best tools in the industry for doing that. And I'm pretty sure they keep the IDs all connected. I just don't know how they exactly do it. Yeah. Okay, we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone.